This lesson is going to give us a little bit more about trig graphs of sine and cosine. Yesterday we did equations for finding amplitude and period with sine and cosine, and the equations look very similar. They have an a in the front, which represents the amplitude, and then the period is not actually b, but the b helps us find it. So that one was 2 pi divided by b. And both of these are always going to be the positive version. So another thing we can do is, if we know the period, we can work backwards to find the b. So here are a few examples. Given the period of a sine function to be 4 pi, find b. So we will use this here to find b. So the period is 2 pi over b. Well, the period is 4 pi, so I'm going to replace the period with 4 pi. So 4 pi equals 2 pi over b. Now I just need to figure out what b is. So I can put this over 1 and do some cross multiplying. So that will be 1 times 2 pi, which is 2 pi, and 4 pi times b, which is 4 pi b. Now I'm just trying to solve for b. This is a number, so b is being multiplied by 4 pi, so I want to divide it by 4 pi, and I have to do it to both sides. So the 4's become 1 over 1, the pi's become 1 over 1, and I'm just left with b. So let's simplify the other side. Pi over pi is 1, and that leaves me with 2 over 4, which is a half. So 2 is divisible by 2, which is 1, and 4 is divisible by 2, which is 2. So b is 1/2. So in the equation, we would see that right here. Let's try another one. Given the period of a cosine function to be 12, find b. So we'll set up the same way. Replace period with 12. So we go 12 equals 2 pi over b. And we will be solving for b again, so I'm going to put this over 1 and cross multiply. So that's 1 times 2 pi equals 12 times b. Divide by 12 to solve for b. So I get b equals, well, the pi is going to stay, 2 over 12. Both of these are divisible by 2, that's 1, and that would be 6. So b is 1 times pi, which is pi, and in the bottom we have 6. So in our equation, now we would see the pi over 6 right here or right here. Let's try it from a graph this time. Determine the b value and a value for the graphs below. Indicate if it should be sine or cosine. So first, let's try the amplitude. This one's easier to find. So the amplitude here, which is a, is going to be how tall does it reach up, which is here. So 2. So that means a is 2. And then for b, we need to know the period. So let's see, if we start here, one cycle ends here, which would be, instead of just 2 pi, goes up to 4 pi. So the period is 4 pi. Then we needed to find the b value though. So we'll set up our equation, which is period is 2 pi over b. So 4 pi equals 2 pi over b. And then we'll solve for b. So I'll put it over 1, cross multiply. So 2 pi times 1 equals 4 pi times b. And this ends up being the same as actually this one that we just did up here. Divide by 4 pi to get b alone. And then we'll have b equals, pi cancels, and 2 over 4 is a half. So b equals 1/2. So we have our A, our B, and now we just need to say if it's sine or cosine, which we can tell that on our graph here. So if we look back on yesterday's notes, the sine started at 0 and then continued, which because the sine of 0 was 0. So this is just from the graphs yesterday. So this graph shows sine. And let's try the last one. So this one here, we're going to do the same thing. So we need the A value, B value, and then what kind of graph it is. So first, let's find the A, which is just the amplitude. So if I look here, I just check how far up does it go. Looks like it's reaching up to 2. So the amplitude for this one is also 2. Now we need the B value. Well, to find the B, we need the period. So if it starts here, we want to see when do we get back to where we started. Looks like here. So the period is going from here to here, which is from 0 to 6. So the period is 6. And now we'll set up our equation. So we have 6 equals 2 pi over b. Put this over 1. Cross multiply, that's 1 times 2 pi, and 6 times b. Divide by 6. So you get b equals, the pi will stay, and 2 over 6 can be simplified by 2 is 1, by 2 is 3, so 1/3. So we've got the a value, the b value, and then for the sine or cosine part, well, this time the graph started above. So sine starts down here, cosine will start up here. So this graph is cosine. So we can also see because the cosine of 0, which is here, is 1, which we found yesterday on the unit circle, and it must have just had a 2 in front to multiply the amplitude. All right, thank you.